And welcome back into another edition of Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to talk about the 2025 Western Conference Finals in the NBA, which tips off tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, both of these teams, they pretty much have the same blueprint, play with the same blueprint, because you see where Oklahoma, they have a superstar in SGA. Minnesota has a superstar in Anthony Edwards. Now, before I get into player statistics and all of the players and X factors that I think who is going to be important for this Western Conference series, I want to get to all the players just so everybody can get a refresher of who is all on the Timberwolves and the Thunder before the Western Conference Finals tips off tonight. So, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Clark, Mike Conley, Dante DiVincenzo, Rob Dillingham, Anthony Edwards, Jesse Edwards, Luke Garza, Rudy Gobert, Bones Highland, Joe Ingles, Jaden McDaniels, Leonard Miller, Josh Minort, Tristan Newton, Julius Randle, Nas Reed, Terrence Shannon Jr., and the head coach for the Timberwolves is Chris Finch. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, starting out the season, they were in the seventh spot. A few months back, they were in the seventh spot. On January 9th, I went back and I did my research on this. January 9th, the Minnesota Timberwolves were in the seventh spot. Everybody was saying they don't know if the Timberwolves are even going to make it back to the playoffs, because we all know that seventh spot and lower is the play-in tournament. So what Minnesota did was, from January 9th up until now, even though that the playoffs started last month, ever since January 9th, they have improved on the defensive side of the court. And you can see that with player statistics too. Because one thing, player statistics, we all know that Anthony Edwards is the leader of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And as you can see, as far as his points per game in the playoffs, I'm just saying, just in the playoffs. So they've played 10 games in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards' average total is 26 and a half points. You have Julius Randle, 23.9 points. And I got to give Julius Randle some credit, because over the past couple of years, he has shrunk in the playoffs. 2022, he was a non-factor for the New York Knicks in the playoffs. 2023, the same, non-factor for the New York Knicks in the playoffs. Then the New York Knicks and Minnesota Timberwolves traded Karl Anthony Towns from Minnesota to New York, and Julius Randle from New York to Minnesota. Now, one thing, the benefit of this trade, the Minnesota Timberwolves have won this trade, because you've got Julius Randle. He has improved his style of play from a 12-point scorer to now 23, 24-point scorer. And not to mention, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have at least 6 guys that could come off the bench and put up 15 points if they need to. Now, here is the statistics. Nas Reed, he's averaged 11 points. Rudy Gobert, 8.9. Dante DiVincenzo, that's an X factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's X factor number 1. Mike Conley, 6.8. He's at the tail end of his career, so he's just out there, just getting minutes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is another X factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Also, another one is Jaden McDaniels. He is also another X factor. So that's three X factors for the Minnesota Timberwolves right there. Not to mention, not to mention Rudy Gobert. We know that he's the center, but most of these teams now they do a whole lot of pick and roll, and it seems like that the NBA is going back to the traditional center role. So even though Rudy Gobert is a non-factor right now, he might be a non-factor while this series goes on. And I can tell you all that this series, it's not going to be a gentleman's sweep. This is going to full seven because you can already see where both of these teams there's no big advantages in this series, and you could see that. Now, as far as depth and injuries, this is all who the Minnesota Timberwolves have as far as depth. Injuries concerned, they don't have too many injuries, so everybody is a full go in this series for the Timberwolves. Now let me shift on over to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City Thunder, top team in the West. Everybody said top team in the West. Okay. So last year, Oklahoma was the top team in the West, but they lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the second round. Now they've beaten their opponent in the second round, which was the Denver Nuggets. Now let's see, can Oklahoma ride this momentum from the previous series into this series? Minnesota is not a slouch on the defensive side. Oklahoma City is no slouch on the defensive side. This series will not be a blowout. So if any Thunder fan or Timberwolves fan think that this series is going to be a blowout, get that out your head right now. I think that all of these games will come down to the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime. Now, let me shift on over to the Oklahoma City Thunder roster. Oklahoma City Thunder roster consists of Brady Carlson, Alex Caruso, Ozumi Ding, Lugaz Dort, Alex Dukas, Adam Flagler, Shea Gildress Alexander, SGA as we like to call him, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Joe, Dylan Jones, AJ Mitchell, Nicola Topic, Kason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams, and Kendrick Williams, and the head coach is Mark Daignault, excuse me. So, the Thunder, best record in the West, best team in the NBA record-wise. Now, playoffs concerned, they really haven't had too much competition because they had the Grizzlies in the first round. They swept them by a record. Previous round, they played the Denver Nuggets, 7-game series, and the point differential was 55. So the Thunder, they had no reason of going to a 7th game with the Denver Nuggets. Now, there were 2 games where Oklahoma, they should have won that outright. But I'm thinking since 48 hours ago, the Thunder, they just came off of a Game 7 victory. Will they be a little bit fatigued from Sunday's game to the Western Conference Finals, which starts tonight? We may not know, and then I'm expecting all of these games to be tight. So this is going to be a tough, drag-out, knockout series. Now, I expect the Thunder to win this series in 7, but let me tell you how all of these games are going to play out. Tonight's game, Oklahoma will win tonight's game, game 1. It will be behind courtesy of their bench. And the reason why I waited this long to mention The bench production is because both benches for the Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves average the same amount of points. So if the starting five has trouble, whether it's the Thunder or the Minnesota Timberwolves, what bench is going to, I'm going to say, pick up the starting five and shoulder the load? I'm just saying because you have a lot of bench production, consistent bench production from both of these teams. Now, Alex Caruso is an X factor for the Thunder. Just Sunday afternoon, he played 40 minutes and he didn't shut down Nikola Jokic, but he neutralized Nikola Jokic. He neutralized him into Nikola Jokic having an efficient game, but he didn't take as many shots as he usually do. Nikola Jokic, he takes 25 to 30 shots a game. And in game 7, he only took 11 shots. 11 shots in 37 minutes for one of the top players in the NBA. That is elite defense from Alex Caruso. Now, the matchup I'm thinking about, will you put Alex Caruso on Anthony Edwards? Now, what I'm thinking about is you might put Alex Caruso on Anthony Edwards late in the fourth quarter, but Alex Caruso cannot be on Anthony Edwards for the entirety of the game. You can't have that. The Thunder, they need at least 3 players that they can throw at Anthony Edwards, because we know that Anthony Edwards, he is the type of player that can will his team to victory, carry the team on his back, put up 35, 40 points if he has to. For the Thunder concern, what the Thunder need to do is see if they can neutralize Anthony Edwards, because earlier on in the playoffs, see, this is what other teams did with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, this is where the Lakers come into fold at, because the games where the Timberwolves lost, Anthony Edwards was neutralized. Now I'm gonna go back all the way back to game 2 of the first round series, and I'm gonna say this: Thunder, they can take a page out of the Lakers book when they were defending Anthony Edwards. See, in game one of the series versus the Lakers, Anthony Edwards, he had a ball, but everybody else on the team was making shots. If you don't have his teammates making shots and put all of the onus on him, that is where the Timberwolves are going to lose this series. Now, I expect for Anthony Edwards, when times get tough in this series, I expect him, to put that Superman cape on and try and will his team to victory. But all in all, I think Oklahoma will win this series in 7 games. Now, statistics for the Thunder. X factors. I already done told y'all the X factors. So throughout the entirety of the season, we know that SGA has been the leading factor for the Thunder. But now, since the postseason has started, they have a lot of games on tape, 11 to be exact, and SGA has averaged almost 30 points in every game. To be exact, 29 points for SGA, Jalen Williams 19.6, Chet Holmgren 15.7, Isaiah Hartenstein 10.3, Alex Caruso 9.3, Lou Dort 8.1, Aaron Wiggins, he is another X factor. So I'm at 4 X factors for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Cason Wallace is just a body out there. He is not an X factor. Isaiah Joe 5.3, AJ Mitchell 4.2, Jalen Williams 3 points, Kenrick Williams 2.8, Dylan Jones 1.5, and Ozami Dean 0.7. So the Thunder, they have 4 X factors that can help them out. That's the advantage where that's the advantage that the Thunder have. 4 X factors to the Timberwolves 3 X factors. Now let's see what is going to happen in this series. And let me tell you, this is probably the best Western Conference final series on paper in some time. In some time. This finals match. Well, this Western Conference finals matchup is almost the equivalent to, I'm going to say, last year's Western Conference Finals, or I could even go back a few years further. The Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets Western Conference Finals back in 2018. See, that is how equivalent this series is. And with that, that is my prediction for the 2024-2025 NBA season Western Conference Finals. I have the Thunder in 7. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. Another thing, let's keep the HBCUs in our thoughts, because HBCUs, all of those institutions are hanging by a thread right now, America. So we need to keep the HBCUs in our thoughts. So that's all I want to say. Last thing that I wanted to say was, remember, the key is always on time.